Hello and welcome back to Unreal Engine 5, Blueprint Mastery, Door Systems and Interactive Portals. Previously, we left off with code, open our door. We used our door reference, our begin play event, and we used the preset logic of set actor rotation. And we set actor rotation to 0, 0, 0. And when we press play, we can see that the door is now open. If I wanted to open it the other way, I could put to minus 180 and it would open other way. What if I wanted to change it every time, but I wanted this to happen to, for example, I had 4 door references and I want them all to have the same rotation. What I would need here is a variable. So to do this, I can over here the plus button, or I can right click here directly and promote this to a variable, which is called new rotation. I could rename it by using the variable name over here and changing the rotation of the door. Now, as you can see, it appeared here to my blueprint tab on the section variables. Let's show the creation of the other way. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this variable also. And I'm going to add a variable and call it new or rotation. Now, if I drag and drop it here, it asks me to get or set. Get means that we are getting the value that this variable has. Set means that we are going to set the variable to some new value. And if I select set, for example, we can see it has some input pins and output pins. We can see also that it's different color because this variable is of the type Boolean. If I click, you can see a bunch of variable types. The most common ones are Booleans, which are yes or no switches basically. In coding terms, it would be zeros and ones. So a Boolean, that's what it is, a 0 and 1, true or false. Next, we will have integers would be the whole numbers, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, unlimited amount. Well, not unlimited, they do have a limit. I think the limit is something to the quintillion. And the floats, which would be the numbers with decimal points. Basically, these are the real numbers. Then we have name and string and text. Strings are all the characters, and name and text have specific rules. Now, vectors. Vectors are, here are 3-point floats basically. If I bring a vector, if I create a vector here, let's change the variable type. We can see it has X, Y, Z. It's a 3-point. I can split it right here, right click on the node, on the pin over here and split. You can see 3 floats basically. That's what a vector is. It can become a color, it can become a movement, it can become anything that 3 points represent. It can become a location. And what we have here is a specific vector, which is called a rotator. So if I go here and select the rotator, which is below vector, and change the variable type, I don't want to set it, I want to get it. Now, a quick shortcut would be, if I drag and drop here with Control pressed, I'm getting a getter. If I drag and drop here with an Alt pressed, then I'm getting a setter. Now, if I connect this here, I compile, I need to compile always, and save, and I'm going to go to the variable and change this to, let's say, minus 60. I'm going to compile again and press play, and we can see the door is halfway open. Of course, if I go near it, nothing happens. And now we do have a variable to change the rotation of the door. So if we had plenty of doors, for example, we could use this variable over here to change the rotation. If we want to see this happening, what we can do is put a delay here, which is a node that creates a time stall in our code. Like It waits the amount that we have set in duration to complete and move on the code. So let's say that we will wait for 2 seconds before this happens. Let's go back to our map, let's play, let's look at the door, and in 2 seconds the door moved and opened. So this is a delay node that has to do with time. So since our code runs in blocks, as we can see, of logic, a logical thing to think would be to put a small delay here, change the rotation a little bit, put a small delay, change the rotation, but put so small delays that the eye couldn't catch, for example. Well, there is a scripted behavior, there is a written behavior already for this for us. As in many programming languages and as in blueprints, well, great programmers have created tools so these behaviors are easy for us. What we would do to achieve that effect, that every some amount of time move a little bit, would be called a timeline. So we're going to search for a timeline and press add a timeline. As you can see, this is a more complicated node compared to the simple delay or even compared to the set actor rotation. It has plenty of inputs: play, play from start, stop, reverse, reverse from end, set new time, the amount that we are setting, and update and finished, and a direction. The direction has a new color, and that color we haven't seen it here. It looks like the byte. It could translate to byte, to be honest. This is why they have similar colors. But this is, as if we can see when we hover, an E time direction enum. The E in the beginning starts for enum, which is short for enumeration. Basically, it's a preset list that we have created that cannot change in runtime. It's a list of whatever we want. This certain one, the specific one, is called direction, and if let's do an equal node equal enum, we can see here the options it has, forward and backwards. There is plenty of ways to use enums. The most common one is with a switch. As you can see, it's switch on E timeline direction, the same name as the enumeration here, because they're enumerated specific. They need to have the same enumeration connected to them, which has a forward and a backwards. This could be connected, for example, to update, which means as long as the timeline is running, do something. Or it could be connected to finish. When the timeline has finished doing whatever it's doing, say, did they finish going forward or did they finish going backwards? We're going to use this pretty soon. For now, we're going to just delete this because we're not going to need it. What we're going to need is to, when we are updating the timeline, connect the set actor rotation. Let's delete. Actually, let's not delete it. Okay, let's just connect from completed to play. So when the delay has been completed, play the timeline and move our actor, rotate our actor. Now, what do we play though? There is nothing, we haven't set anything to play. We won't be dealing with the set new time and the new time because it's a little bit more advanced than what we are doing right now. So what we need to do is enter the timeline. As you can see, this is a very special node. So if I double click on it, we open it over here, and right here we have the event graph, and here is the timeline specific viewport. We have a track that we're going to see what it is. It's going to be adding something like session system, like for example a flow track. That's what we're going to be using. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press shift key and click on here to create a point, and shift click and create a point here. Now, these 2 points have a time and a value. If I set the time to 0 and value 0, this would be the middle of our Cartesian system. If I go to the next one and press, like, let's say how much time the door would take to open, let's say 0.5 and value of 1, we can see that this went to value 1 in the time 0.5. Now we have a slope that we can drive something with it. The rest of the buttons, as you can see, is the length button, which if I zoom out in 5 seconds, it stops the timeline. I could set this to 0.5 and it will stop the timeline here. But there is another button over here, use last keyframe, which even if I had a bigger track in 5 seconds, it would notice that the last keyframe is at 0.5 and it would stop the timeline here. Now, if there were more tracks again, it would take the last keyframe from the longest track. Now, of course, there are some more options like autoplay, like loop and other things to do, which we won't be needing right now. The only thing we're going to need to do is name this new track. Click and press F2 here, and I'm going to call this door rotation alpha. I'm going to save. I'm going to close the timeline because we don't need it anymore. Make sure that you have used the last keyframe if you have 5 seconds. And I'm going to close this. So now we have a new pin here, the door rotation alpha. Again, this is the value from 0 to 0.5 seconds, from 0 to 1. So this will run for 0.5 seconds. It will be updating for this amount, and this will correspond from a 0 to 1 value in this 0.5 seconds. Now, how can I connect this here? There is no green pin. Well, what I can use is again a new node with prescripted behavior called alert node, which is a mathematical node. And alert, which is an interpolation from A to B basically, and I can connect the B here, which is my destination, and my original rotation, which was minus 90, I think. And then I can connect this alpha here. I can choose also shortest path if needed, but it might mess sometimes things up. So based on your rotations, you can choose if you check this or not. I'm gonna go to my map and press play. And this is to minus 60. Let's put it to minus 180 because we want to open inwards. But it did work. We saw it working. Yes, the door is opening on its own, waiting 2 seconds, and this timeline is animating our door. I think this is enough for this one. I'm gonna see you on the next one. Goodbye.